Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. So this will be the final video on the Cheapaz chips HW bot competition because as you can see it is now over. And yeah, you can see my results right here in front of you. I'm pretty proud of what I got. So basically I ended up getting much better scores than I ever anticipated. So that's pretty cool. And what we're gonna do in this video is just show the scores, talk a bit about what I did, and in the end, after this part is over, I'm gonna swap over to the camera and show the graphics card and that I worked with, like show the mods on it, and yeah. So basically, for overall, I ended up on 8th place, so that's a top 10 finish. Like, this is the first HW board competition that I ever did participate in. So, having a top 10 finish, pretty good. But actually, as you can see, there's 3 stages here. Pretty much, I only care about this one. Because Vantage is a benchmark that I know. 03 and 01 are benchmarks that I don't know. And, well, Vantage too, but especially these two are like CPU dependent, which is why I don't run them normally. Vantage also is CPU dependent, but less so than these two. So for this competition, basically, I only focused or pretty much only cared about Vantage because it's a bench that I know. Well, I mean, there are measures in place in this competition to make people not cheese their scores with CPUs. So basically the only reason why I did Vantage is because it's a bench I know. Like, it's something that I can compare to because I run Vantage on other things as well. I don't run these benches on other graphics cards as well. So I have like no idea how to compare what I got. I do know this one. So yeah, and in Vantage, I ended up in 3rd place. So that's a podium position right there. So yeah, that's pretty nice. So let's take a look at our scores. Oh no, that's just my profile page. So yeah, here's the Vantage score. So that's a 1504. So basically, yeah, I'm one of 3 people that had 1500 plus. This one really he did higher clocks than me, but yeah, it doesn't say that it has memory timing mods, but I'm pretty sure this has memory timing mods, especially because I think TerraRaptor mentioned that he has memory timing mods. Oh well, my internet is great today. Yep. So you can mod the memory timings on these cards, which is, for me at least, it was the NVS 300s. He did a GT 210, and then this person did a GeForce 405. So they're all based on the same GT 218 core. So they're basically all the same card. They all have the same amount of cores and TMUs and ROPs and stuff. Some of them have DDR2, some of them have DDR3. So some 210s have DDR2, but then there's also 210s like this one. Oh no, actually that... Oh yeah, I think he did... Yeah. So I guess his core is from a 210, but he put it onto a different PCB then. Yeah. Anyway, so the person that's right in front of me did memory timing mods, and then the person that went right past both of us, I'm pretty sure, also used memory timing mods, because those clocks are not that much higher than like the memory clock. Yeah, that's probably the highest, but like to get 100 extra points, I don't know if 100 megahertz memory do that. So yes, I'm pretty sure there's memory timing mods going on here, and well, I didn't use memory timing mods. Straight up because I don't know how. Like, I know you can do it with Nibitor, but I've never done it, and Also, I don't know how to mod the memory timings on this. And I only found out about memory timing modding on this card like 1 day before the competition ended, so I decided to just not bother. So yeah, but still, I got 1500 plus without memory timings. That's like the cool part that I like, because actually, if you look at my clocks, so this is my submission, my clocks are pretty much the exact same clocks I used for my older submissions as well. So I had a 1487 and a 1492, and then this one had pretty much the exact same clocks. So you could say it's just random variants that kind of worked out in my way, especially when you look at just how many people are like within that range. Like, yeah. One thing that I have to say though is that this is, so people have been saying when you do extreme overclocking, right at the beginning of your session is when you get the best scores. That is very true. So the 1487 I got in the beginning was at the very end of a somewhat like 4-hour long session. And I actually did get a 1490 in that same session before, but that was before I realized I had I wasn't completely done with maxing out the card, and I didn't save that one because I thought I can just reproduce it if I tried. Turned out I couldn't and ended up with 3 points less than that. And then later, the same day, I decided to rerun the card again. And right at the beginning, just put in max clocks and got my 1492. And then later did it again with, I think I had it 5 megahertz more core clock. But I think other than that, same clocks, I got my 1504. Those are like right at the beginning of the session. So yeah. So I'm pretty proud of that one. And yeah. And then we can look at the other ones. I ran them at the exact same clocks. And I didn't optimize them at all. So yeah. Like that also why I care about Vantage more than these two, because I did not optimize anything. So the optimizations I did for Vantage is like your usual stuff, your high power setting in Windows, and then in the NVIDIA driver, like, maximum performance, high quality. And I used LOD. So one thing, now I can just tell people about it. Now I'm no longer holding a competitive advantage by knowing about it. But people have been saying for Vantage, the best LOD setting is 5. That might be true. For this card, it's not. So I did some testing with different LOD settings, and I got a somewhat, I think, around 20 points boost by going with LOD 9 instead. So LOD 9 instead of 5 gives you like another 20 points versus 5, not versus off. Versus off, I think it's around 30 points. I don't quite remember it, but like LOD 9 did score significantly better than LOD 5. And that's probably the thing that just kind of got me to third place, because my clocks are not that impressive. Actually, my card did have a rather weak core and shader clock. It had good memory, like 1070 memory it's not the highest, but it's up there. Like I've seen a couple 1080s, a 1090 I think, and then there's like the one person with over 1100. So yeah. But the card on my memory is decent. Then the core and shader is not really. And we'll get to that later, because we're going to talk about some submissions that a friend of mine did as well. And his card had a much, much better core. He didn't make it that far in the ranking, though, and we'll talk about that later. So yeah, my clocks weren't all that great. They are like maxed out. You can't add anything more than that. Like that's completely maxed. And also my card didn't really scale with voltage. So I have Samsung memory. I think it's Samsung eDie, like DDR3 1 gigabit. Yeah, I think it's eDie. And that stuff did not scale with voltage, the memory. And it did also not scale with cold. So I ran the same clock speeds, sub-zero and with volt mod, that I did at stock and without volt mod on the memory. The core, similar story. So the core did pick up, well, of course it scaled with cold, and it did pick up a little bit when I cap modded the card, but only to a certain extent. It very quickly stopped scaling with voltage as well, for the core clock at least. The shader clock kept scaling a little bit, so going from like 1.4 to 1.65 volts under phase change did give me like another maybe 20 megahertz on the shader clock. But the core clock after like 1.1, 1.2 volts or so just didn't change anymore. It just stayed the same. So yeah. So my card didn't really like scale that much. Like it's basically just cold and then the little bit that the capacitors did. That brought me to the clocks that you're seeing here, which is, yeah. And then the core and shader clock isn't even all that great. So yeah, I'm very thankful for ending up where I did. Yeah, and then as you can see here, like that's my result. I have no idea if that's a good result or not. Like it's, yeah, just like my ranking position. I don't do these benchmarks. I did not optimize my LOD. Like I ran the same LOD setting of 9 for these benches as well. I did not do any OS optimization. I ran everything on my same Windows 7 Home install. Yeah, same for 3D Mark 2001. So same LOD, same OS. Like I think at least 2001 you're supposed to do on Windows XP, and then like with completely different LOD settings of like 15, I think, or something. I didn't do that because I didn't care that much. Like this is what I cared about. This was basically just 3 points. Like quite literally just 3 points. I ran these benchmarks a total of twice. Once with slightly reduced clocks, and then in my second session where I got the Vantage Score I wanted right away, I just reran these two. Also because I forgot to put the hardware info thing into the first ones that I did for 03 and 01. So it's now in there, so you can see, like, because there's a clock speed limit, you can't go over 5005 megahertz on your cores or your ring clock. So that's how they make sure that you don't. So I included that in these passes. And also the score was a bit higher because I maxed my clocks. Like it used to not run at the same clocks that Vantage did. Because like these are higher FPS tests, and as far as I know, usually higher FPS tests put up like are harder for stability. So it has a higher chance of crashing when you're like right up against your limit. But well, I guess the good scores in the beginning of your session part just kind of help with that because it's the exact same clocks. Yeah, and I guess now we can close these. So now we get to a friend of mine who goes by the name of Saku. So he came to me, like you can see, like he used we used the same test bench. He brought his own card, which you can see because his is a Hynix card and mine's a Samsung. But yeah, as you can see, same bench, same test bench, same. What's the image? Yeah, so like he used my test bench and OS, but he brought his own card, which he also modded himself. So yeah, and his card did have a pretty good core. So you can see 1 gigahertz core, 2500 shader versus my 945 core and 2360 shader. So basically, he should be absolutely demolishing me, but he's not. And the reason for that is his memory. So as you can see, his memory clock is literally stock. And no, he didn't forget to set that. That's what his card did. Like cap modded, volt modded, and sub-zero, his card's memory did not overclock. Period. And yeah, so basically the memory chips that he ended up with, which is Hynix DFR, again like 1 gigabit, because it's 4 chips or 512 megabyte, go figure. Yeah, he ended up with just some absolutely abysmal memory chips. And as it turns out, for Vantage, you really need your memory clock for scoring good. So yeah, that really screwed him over. If his card had the same kind of memory that my card did, he would have been in second place for sure. Like that card, that's like, if that card with good memory, that's a winner. He might, well, he wouldn't have broken 1600. You surely need memory timing mods for that. But like the 1519, like this one, that's probably beatable with this card with not shit memory. But, well, the card does have shit memory, and that's what we like what he got. Literally stock memory. Yeah, that's it's a very sad card. Like, yeah, Core and Shader just really, really good. Like, I mean, these are straight up the exact same clocks for Core and Shader that Tag got, like him over here. Yeah, like 1000, 2500, exact same clocks for Core and Shader. And his card is E-powered. Like, our cards weren't E-powered. Our cards were like full stock VRM. And his card's E-powered. At pretty similar, like basically the exact same temperatures. He's also on phase change. It doesn't show his phase change unit, but he probably has like a very similar one to mine. Though his card's running at 8x. That might be... Like, I got a 1492 in one of my other scores. I wrote haha suck attack, just kidding, in the comment because of that, because I beat him by one. Because I was expecting him to score better than that. Maybe it's the memory, because his only does 1000. Maybe it's the CPU, but I don't really think it's the CPU, just because he, like, GT218 is such as, like, 16 cores. That's it. Like, that's so little. Like, you can see, like, 4 FPS in the tests. Yeah, anyway. So his benching session started out really, really great, like, because the core just kept scaling, and we were like, wow, where's this gonna end up? The sky is the limit. And then once we, like, got the core dialed in at like pretty impressive clocks, where we were like, oh yeah, this is like what Tag's E-powered card did. Then we went to change the memory and just, like, we set 900, which is like pretty low. Like, I think most people did like at least 1000. And 900 just straight up crashes on desktop without even like starting a benchmark on this card. And yeah, the memory's bad. Really, really bad. Yeah. So that's really sad. I also have his card still here. Because technically it's my card. I bought both of these, but like he did all the modding and well, I mean he ran it. So yeah. And then here's his other scores, like for the other benches, that like literally also just like a synchro run of these. Here we had to like reduce clocks a little bit again. Like this is at 990, 2460 instead of 1000, 2500. But again, like because the memory clock's that bad, it doesn't really matter. It's literally just 3 points. So we can get that away. Yeah, also here. Oh, actually I have G die, it looks like, not E die. Okay. Yeah, so you can see here, his card did do proper memory clocks at ambient. So this is like the first testing session that I had for both of these cards. Like I pre-tested his card as well, just to see like which one's good. And on ambient, like my card looks a bit more looks more impressive, but like as we found out, his core is very good Sub-Zero. And his memory like looked okay as well on ambient, but then yeah, apparently Hynix 1 gigabit DFR just really hates, like, both is it hates voltage, because if we increased voltage by just like literally, like, I think stock is 1.55 volts or something. If we increase that to 1.6, the screen would go black and the system would crash. So it's not just like more voltage makes the clock worse, it literally crashes the card. It will not work. So yeah, overvolting memory was off the table then. And yeah, when it's cold, like cold at stock voltage, you saw it only runs stock, not a single bit more. So yeah, that's what negative cold and voltage scaling looks like. Big load of sadness. Yeah, I feel kind of bad for him because yeah, because that's such a bummer. Like even like I would have accepted in his position, I would have accepted like mediocre memory, but this is just straight up abysmal. Like also because it has such a big impact on the score. Like, yeah. Anyway, so that's what we did. Oh, of course, yeah. He also ran the same LOD and stuff. Like basically the exact same setup for both of us, just like different cards. Like the graphics card changes, everything else remains the same for both of us. And yeah, what I haven't talked about yet is I ran this on the Z370 ARMOS Gaming 5. Because I wanted a postcode basically. Because if we're gonna have issues, I just wanted a postcode to see what's wrong. Like the Z390 Gaming Carbon, like Pro Carbon, has like debug LEDs, but it doesn't have a postcode. And I just wanted a postcode in case we have issues. We didn't have any. Though, yeah, we did have issues with Saku's card a little bit. Because his card, like as you can see, we didn't insulate the, we didn't insulate the cards, just like, we insulated the motherboard, you can see some needle eraser here. But the cards were just, just naked. I suspect in his card some moisture got somewhere where it wasn't supposed to be, because his card would crash and then we press the reset button and then it would come back artifacting and no longer installing the driver. And the only way we found to fix that is just to like take off the phase change cooler, like warm the card up, dry it up, just like basically reset it back to before the session, then we'd like start it again and then the card would work again. So that's pretty much the only issue we had, and we didn't need the postcode to resolve that. So, yeah. And I guess that's pretty much it. Like you can... yeah, here's... Oh, this is the first sub I did. That's probably at like stock. Okay, with water cooling. And the car was modded, okay. Yeah, that's how I mounted the water cooler, because the mounting holes are so small, not even my universal GPU block fit. Yeah, so that's what my card did with water. You can see like exact same memory clock. But yeah, then those are the first times I ran. Then it's my 1487, 1492, then he ran his card. And then today, like at the end of the competition, I reran again, got some new high scores, and he as well. So, yeah. The last thing I haven't talked about here is, because I was just talking about mounting, yep. That's how we mounted the cooler, because, so like my phase change is, was originally meant for cooling CPUs. You can buy on like Vantage Score, you can buy a GPU bracket for this, but I don't have that. I was meaning to buy it, and I might still do it, but for now I don't have a GPU bracket. So the best I had is, you can kind of see, we drilled some holes into the bracket here, so it would fit GPU mounting hole spacing. But again, because like this, it didn't even fit my water block. And this one, like barely, like the smallest hole is for 7970. That's basically the smallest it can fit. And the water block can like fit also like 7850s, which is I think a bit smaller still. And if even the water block didn't fit the NVS 300, well, this one surely didn't. So yeah, we solved it with clamps. The mounting pressure was awful. The card was bending by a lot. And yeah, like this is an awful mounting system, but because this is a card that basically, like, it literally comes with a passive heatsink. This card basically consumes no power whatsoever. So even if your mounting pressure is bad and your contact is bad and just everything about your mounting and cooling situation is awful, it's not gonna do much because the phase change is just so cold. Even like not having good contact is still gonna freeze the back of the card, as you can see. Like, this is not the worst it got. Like, this is because, like, I got the score right at the beginning of the session. This is what the card looks like at the beginning of the session. If I can look up my... This one should have the picture of where... Yeah. That's what it looks like after 4 hours, just like completely frozen through. There's like half a centimeter of just literal ice on the back of the card after a session that long. And I just got a package. Wait a minute. Alright, sorry, the door rang. I just received another graphics card. But that's not the point of this video. So, yeah, that's what the card looked like after a long session. And that's what the evaporator looked like after. You can, like, very clearly see where the card was. And yeah, that's bad contact. Like, you can clearly see a moderately thick amount of thermal paste right where the core was. So, mounting pressure-wise, the mounting system is awful. Also, how you can tell that it's awful is that Buildzoid said it's jank. So if it's jank for him, yeah, it is definitely jank. Just like, because he's the guy who ran a GT210 with like an LN2 pod made from a water bottle. So anyway, so it still worked out fine. Also, I don't think I'm the only one who did this. I think, I have no idea where in the ranking that person is, but I'm pretty sure I did see someone else using a clamp system to do that. I think they only used one clamp because they have a phase change that's actually made for GPUs, so instead of going straight out, it like does a bend and then goes that way. But again, because mine is one that's for CPUs, yeah, it looks like that. Which, like, we can still work with it. So, yeah. And yeah, I think now it's time to take a look at the cards. You can like get a sneak peek here. But yeah, I'm gonna pause the recording now and get over to my desk where I can show the final state of both the cards that we ran. So see you soon. So here we are. That's my card. So yeah, the mods are not that extensive because, you know, like, it's not e-powered or anything. It still has the stock VRM for everything, which worked out just fine. And just to recheck, do I really have G-Die? Yep, that's G-Die. Okay. Yeah, so basically all the mods are on the back. So we've got blue, which is core voltage, which is, so both of these potentiometers are 20 kilo ohms. And yeah, so it's just fairly simple. I did add a switch that I didn't really use. I pretty much always add a switch to my volt mods, but basically never end up using them. Same for the memory, which is the green wire. So just, yeah, I mean, very simple controllers. I think these were APW8720s. Can't really see with the wire above them now. And then I just used this where the I/O bracket usually goes, because like my card was like, did have a low profile I/O bracket, so it like went like right here, which I had to remove because it wouldn't fit my test bench. So I just used that as ground. And then as far as the capacitors go, originally I planned to recap the card, like remove these two and replace them, but then I was like, that's too much work, I'll just piggyback on the back of them, and that's what I did. So The stock ones are 560 microfarad 4 volt capacitors, and I added a 1000 microfarad 2.5 volt capacitor on each of these. Then for the core, I also added another 560 microfarad 4 volt capacitor, just like, so I used the one end of the the output leg of the inductor, and then like a ground pad from a non-existent capacitor near one of the memory MOSFETs. I don't think this capacitor does anything. First, because it's 560 microfarad at 4 volts, like these are some really cheap capacitors that I used in the very beginning. And also because it's like at the inductor, not at the core. So it's pretty far away and a not very good capacitor. So I don't think this one did anything. Then I did add this one with like the pretty badly soldered one. So the multilayer ceramic it's on also doesn't exist. I also added that one. And then added another 1000 microfarad 2.5 volt capacitor above that. And then we have two more. This one, kind of a funny story. I thought that the 4 multilayer ceramics this one's connected to are core. Turns out they are PEX, because that seems to be the PEX controller. So I just added 820 microfarads to PEX. This one doesn't do anything. Forget about it. I was planning to remove it at some point, but then I was just like, but why? I have more capacitors to solder onto. And then the final one is another 820 microfarad, also 2.5 volt capacitor, like pretty much directly behind the core, like on a multilayer ceramics directly behind the core. I don't think this one did anything because this one I only added for my very last run. Like for the 1487 and the 1492, I didn't have this one, and then for the 1504, I had it, but I tried to increase core and shader clock, but I didn't get anywhere. Like, so this one probably didn't do anything, either because that's already enough capacitance, or because, I don't know, I don't really know. Like, card doesn't really scale with voltage, so I guess at some point your minimums are just good enough. Yeah. Then again, I did set VCore to, I think, 1.65 volts, just because your shader clock scales a little bit, at least on this card. So that's the card that I ran. And here's the card that Saku ran. You can see very similar setup. He doesn't have switches on his volt mods because, again, pretty pointless. And you can see he actually has a full-size bracket. So we just used the ground of this capacitor right here. They are in the exact same spots, just that this capacitor is missing because, like, again, I don't think it did anything, and this one's not there because, well, again, it's PEX, not core, so there's no point really adding one. Other than that, they use the exact same capacitors in the same places. And yeah, here again you can see the very sad memory chips, Hynix, DFR. Just, these are bad. Negative voltage scaling, negative cold scaling. Just overall sad memory chips. So yeah. And also for core, his core clocked better. Like, there's no arguing. His core is just straight up better. For some reason, it didn't like voltage as much. This card only runs at 1.4 volts. If you bring VCore higher than that, it black screens. So that's interesting. Then again, at 1.4 volt, it gets better clocks than mine at 1.65. So there's not really a reason to complain here. It's just interesting because like both of cards ran at VCore voltages much lower than most people, at least what I hear about most people, because I heard people run at like 1.8 volts or something. So yeah, we didn't. I tried briefly 1.8 volts on my card, didn't do anything, didn't improve any clocks, so I just brought it back down. And on this card, well, going over 1.4 just straight up black screens the card. So yeah. So these are the two cards that we ran. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for Cheapaz chips round 1 GT218. I had some fun. Like, yeah, it was fun. It was fun competing. I sure hope that there's gonna be a round 2. I don't actually know if there's gonna be a round 2, but it's gotta be in the name for some reason. So, yeah, I'm interested in finding out what HWBot is thinking of next. Because I'll gladly compete again. Maybe we'll do GPU Pi next time. I really like GPU Pi. But let's see. So yeah, I mean it's really a bit tragic that Saku's card just had the worst memory imaginable. If his card did, like, because this one's third place, if this card with like the arguably better core just had better memory, this one would have been at least second place. Maybe first, but again, I think you need memory timing mods for that. So, well, maybe someday I'll be crazy enough to swap the memory chips out for the chips from that card. To create the ultimate NVS 300, but then again, the competition's over, so there's not really a point. So yeah, still had fun though. I think Saku also had fun overall, though his card ended up kinda, yeah, in a bad spot. So yeah, that's gonna be it for the video. Oh, one last thing, some of you might be, because I think there was at least one comment saying that they would like to see the cards in action, like while benching. Why that didn't happen is basically the phase change is very loud, and I had Saku over while we were benching, so we were like already talking to each other and stuff. So recording that would have like made things first more complicated and second just, yeah, kind of annoying. So didn't record it. I might live stream some other things, like I have good enough internet now to live stream. Main issue is just the phase change is very loud, like basically like a vacuum cleaner. So the audio is really bad. Like it's pretty hard to understand me unless I like wear a microphone like directly on myself, which I don't really have. So it is kind of hard to record with the phase change running, especially live stream, because I can't use my smartphone, which is what I use right now for recording. Like I can't use that for streaming. So yeah, like I'll think of something. And I guess in the last part, I can talk about what I just got, like why the door rang. I got this card, which is not for me, it's for a friend in Italy. But basically, he bought a heatsink, a very nice aftermarket GPU heatsink, and it came with a card attached. And as it turns out, that card that's attached is a GTX 560 with the Baby Hawk PCB. So you can see it's a 6-phase. This is the same PCB that the 460 Hawk has. And I'm pretty sure, because you can see there's a sticker there, I'm pretty sure if you peel that sticker off, it says Hawk. Actually, can we do that? I don't think he cares if the sticker's gone. Because I'm pretty sure these are just leftover 460 Hawk PCBs that they repurposed as a, like, officially this is called the Twin Frozer 2 or something. Come on, get off. No, it's tearing. Okay, I'll let him do that. He also has a YouTube channel, so it's called Deepa, like DIPA. Look it up if you want. He has a couple videos, so maybe he'll do the peel on his YouTube channel when he gets the card. Oh, this also came with OVP. I can't show it, but like, yeah, nice GPU heatsink, nice GPU to have fun with too. Anyway, I've used enough time to talk about this. So, yeah, I'll definitely do another Cheapaz chips competition, and I should thank HWBot for organizing this one. And yeah, so I hope you had some fun watching this video too, like seeing how the competition goes, maybe participating in it yourself, maybe just hearing about what I did, how I did things. So anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, goodbye.